and to his right, Kafra Rudder, event producer. So we're going to get straight into it. Success is a number of failures, guys. Everyone here has had success in their life, and everyone has had failures. And what maybe now in hindsight would have been a failure then might have led to success or led to another turn that we took in life that has brought us, and you look back and you say, wow, I really dodged that bullet. But you know, if I start with you, Johnny, you are known, as you said, Aquaman right now. You know, that's a master swimmer, a scuba diver. I remember over 20 years ago when I was doing my dive master, you were one of the big ones. And I've been on a couple. I've been to a couple depths with you, and to see you finally accomplish the Tobago, swimming from Tobago to Trinidad. I can't even begin to imagine what that was like, and hence the topic today, success and number of failures.
Well, I think that wraps it up quite nicely, because it's all about the getting up. And as far as I've experienced it in life, I can say with a clean conscience that I've never really been very good at anything. So I've had a lot of tumbles, a lot of falls, but I've always, picked myself up and kept going. And there's no substitute for failing on the road to any kind of success,
So if we contextualize and put that in to get the juices flowing here today, like what? Because the first thing is someone says, "Oh, I swam from Tobago to Trinidad." Now, someone outside of the country might think, okay, well, maybe it's a 200-meter swim or a small thing like a Maracas Open. Yeah. But there's so many aspects of it: the currents, the pelagics, the determination, the fitness. There's so many things, the crew that you would have around you, the support. But let's start with, how does one get up and determine, especially based on the mindset that you said you just had, you've never, and this is your own determination, you've never really been good at anything, but I'm sure people looking back at your life would probably tell a different story. Like for me, when I hear Johnny Prokop, I think of a boss diver. Yeah. So to me, you have been very good at things and continue to be very good at things, and now you have the I would say the stripe, the accolade, or that you swam from Tobago to Trinidad. But take us through that process,
And here why it's important too. I remember this when I was in my 20s, right? Mm-hmm. And swimming actively. I remember a brethren of mine, me and him, we were going down the islands, and halfway down, we say, you know what? We tell him, we both was in a group, we both man drop us out, let we swim the rest, right? Just off for adventure. And I remember, I wouldn't say it was a mistake, but the water was dark. I underestimate the uncertainty of that, right? So I know I could swim, so drowning wasn't my thing, but it's dark. Kind of. And then the underwater plants, right, was tall enough that it was touching, right? So I swimming and it touching, and I sinking, and I sink. When I look at the distance, I could swim now, man. But suddenly when I'm in the water, the distance became this thing, and I started, okay, I need to hurry, right? And that was from right there to right there with no danger of drowning. So when you say Tobago to Trinidad, right? Yeah. Mental, no, not only the swimming skill, but the mental fortitude, I think it need. I really need to know.
Well, I think when I was invited to take part in a triathlon in Tobago about 10 years ago. I went in confident because a friend of mine had filmed me swimming in Storbay with his drone. And I thought to myself, what? Swimming looking pretty. And I did this triathlon, I did this triathlon, and of course, it's a team triathlon. So the guy that I thought, I could beat him, he started swimming before me. And then it was in a pool, the swimming part, and then you have to tag off to the rider, and then you have to tag off to, the runner. So the guy who I thought I could beat jumped in before me, and we're doing laps, and then another guy jumped in after me. So I'm concentrating on the guy I think I have to catch. And then before I know it, I see the guy who jumped in after me jumping out of the pool before me. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I miscounted. You know.
Or you get lapped.
But I wasn't even thinking I get lapped, because I was like, how could this guy have possibly swum faster than me, you know? And so I spoke to him after the triathlon, yeah? And he said that he swims with Tobago Aqua Warriors swim team. And I was like, wait, we have a swim team here? And, you know, I went and I met the coaches and I joined up. And that was like 8 years of consistent training every morning of the week at 5 a.m. until 6:45 a.m. with a bunch of teenagers and little kids and coaches who will smile with you before and after, but during it's like hell, right? It's really intense. And this builds up over time. Running French Fort Hill, doing my calisthenics at home, it builds up. And when you're consistent with this kind of training, eventually you develop a base fitness. And one thing leads to another. So I started doing master swimming competitions, you know, down at the Aquatic Center in Trinidad. And then I started experimenting with long distance swimming in the sea. You know, I hooked up with a few guys who also do long distance swimming, and we started talking about, you know, I wonder if we could swim from Tobago to Trinidad. But it was the story of Sandy, the slave, and the revolution that took place in Tobago when slavery had already been abolished in Trinidad and was still being practiced in Tobago. And Sandy had to swim from Tobago to Trinidad because the revolution was overturned when they called in reinforcements from the Royal Navy. And that was, I wanted to, you know, do an homage to Sandy. And I thought that if it was possible for a slave with no boat, no coconut water and CK figs like I have, you know, no assistance of any kind, just on pure will to make it. It was an opportunity to make this seemingly impossible possible.
But why wanted to do that? Why wanted to experience that?
Yeah, you look at, I live in Tobago since 1995, and I'm from Trinidad, and I love living in Tobago. But I stand up and I look out at Trinidad all the time. And that's my home, right there across the sea. And, you know, I've always wondered, is it doable? There was one experience that I had, which I haven't spoken about much up to this point, but I drifted for 9.5 hours off of a scuba dive. Took some people diving off their catamaran, and the captain of the catamaran, not being a dive boat captain, didn't understand the currents, and we ended up drifting for 9.5 hours about 4 miles off of the south tip of Tobago. Coast Guard helicopter came above twice and didn't see me because they were directly above. And I was rescued by Davey, my dive master, at 6:45 p.m., just when the search had been called off because of bad weather. There was a white squall, and then also because it was about to get dark. And they found me in like fog, like 3.5 miles off of Tobago.
Was you alone or you were alone?
No. They found me first, and then I had my diver's compass heading, because now we couldn't see each other because of the fog, but I knew where they were because of the compass heading. The reason I wasn't with them was because I attempted to swim to the catamaran, because the catamaran didn't seem like it was moving, and it was about 8 football fields away from us. So I swam to what must have been about, I swam to what must have been about half of a football field away from the catamaran. And when I got to within that distance, I saw the captain jump down and start up and continue going in the opposite direction.
Sure you can see it?
The whistle blowing, whistle. I was blowing my whistle, but the wind direction.
What does that do? What does that do, Johnny, to the mental at that point? That you're already in this position of you've emerged. You're out the water, and for those who don't know, I mean, as divers, we understand that there's no step to climb. So it's not like you can look any ripple in the water is a mountain. You know, you can't get above that. The visibility is there. So you've come up, you've realized that there's the boat's gone.
That the boat is a tiny dot in the distance.
It's a tiny dot. Yeah. You make your way to that. You've already taken the decision to make your way to it, and just as you go so close, and yet so far in this case,
yes.
you go. What does that do? What does that do to the will?
It's an emotional roller coaster. It crushes you. So I was hopeful because I'm getting closer. I'm starting to see the captain on board, right? And I'm thinking he's going to hear my whistle, and then he drives off. So now I'm stuck in no man's land, halfway between the catamaran and the divers.
You weren't really in no man's land?
No.
Figure of speech,
no man's land, yeah. Okay. So, I wish we were in no man's land. That'd have been sweet.
I could have done that.
Yeah, So that was the first crusher, the soul crusher. And then you build your hope up. Okay, you think, okay, we have visual connection. We had our safety sausages up on our surface markers, etc. We had our mirror, we had the whistles, and we can see each other. So everything's okay, you stay calm. And then a little bit of time goes by, and you start seeing boats in the distance. And you know that they're looking for you, but they can't see you. So you start to feel hope. Yeah? And then time goes by, and you realize these boats, they're not seeing you.
Yeah.
So then you start to feel crushed again. And then...
Elaborate a little bit. When you say crushed...
Well, then you start to feel like you have no more saliva left. You are like someone's just kicked you in the guts, and you can't believe that this is happening to you, And then, all of a sudden, something the size of a buoy just comes to the surface. Boom! And it's a pilot whale. So that scared the hell out of me. And then, of course, I was very relieved because I know that it's a friendly marine mammal and not a shark, right? So there was that. And then, spend some time looking at frigate birds soaring close to the surface of the water, I was like, carry a message for me. Carry a pigeon. But the frigates weren't cooperating. And then I saw the Coast Guard helicopter. And that is when the Coast Guard helicopter flew above me and stopped directly above me, I thought to myself, yes, saved. I felt like Castaway, Tom Hanks, And I celebrated every ounce of me. It was like, yes. And then an hour went by. And then another hour went by.
Because you don't know that they didn't see you.
I didn't know that they didn't see me at that point. I saw them, obviously. And then after about 3 hours went by, I'm thinking, well, how long does it take for them to send the Coast Guard to my coordinates? And then I saw the helicopter again. And then more hours went by and nothing. And when the weather started to turn and I started to realize how late it was getting, then it became a case of, am I going to be responsible for the deaths of 3 people? What have I done? And then it really descends on you, and I can't explain the feeling of seeing the bow of the boat piercing the mist, not even 10 feet in front of me. In that whole ocean, they managed to find me exactly where I was. And there was no way that I wasn't going to feel like the luckiest person on the face of the earth after that. And that does something to you. It really does. When you realize the tangibility of, you could have lost your life,
So let's take that back, because I've seen so many of these shows, the lady who swam the English Channel, the woman who swam from Miami to Cuba to Miami,
to Florida, yes.
And you see all these stories of just pure resilience, dedication, persistence, but even in their stories, the success came with what people would look at as a number of failures. To them, it was adjustments.
Yeah.
But even in those stories, there were moments that they wanted to give up, and something pushed them along to go back in the water. Even though you had a support crew, was some of that experience of what you had during those moments, did it give you that really strong, a lot of us call it bad mind, but that this determination, like you've been in this predicament in a way where you thought you weren't going to make it, and here you have support crew, but it's like you still
I'm still in that moment.
You're still in that moment.
Absolutely. And that's where it is for me on a mental level, because I'm able to put myself easily with my imagination in the situation where you have to make it if you want to survive. And it's almost like fooling yourself. I remember I did a swim with my good friend Richard Coneybear, who is going to be one of my support swimmers during the swim around Tobago, which is coming up. Yeah, big up Richie, because he was run over by a boat. And he came back from that. So yeah, he's like a whole different level. But I was doing a swim with him. We swam from...
You know, you laugh, like, but it's not laughter of joy.
No.
What?
Yeah.
No, well, I'm glad you all mentioned it, because hearing about men of resilience is also inspiring to me, because it reminds me that I could make it too now. Right? I mean, it may not be swimming. Everybody have their own thing, right? But to hear what somebody's surviving and not only surviving, just pushing through no matter what, because I think the open water is a good analogy for life.
Yeah.
Right? Uncertainty. The thing is, we don't even know what will happen in the next minute.
Yes.
Right? And then you have your hopes up, because all of us have dreams and hopes, right? All of us have dreams and hopes. And then we reach the point, and then the boatman turn on and just go. You do all this work, wherever it is, your projects, your goals, your study for something, and you reach this point, and then it go on, and then what am I left with?
That's exactly how life is.
Yeah, I always remember, you know, there's this image of a fella with a pickaxe. He's underground and he's chipping away, and just one or two more chips probably
to get to
the diamonds, and he gives up at that point. And this, you know, life, you know, when we talk about success being a number of failures, a lot of times there's that. And so I want to come back to, before we go to the break, where we're hearing about what happened that gave you sort of that determination, and we understand the success. But and I talk about what gets one to get up in the morning and determine, I'm going to swim from Tobago to Trinidad. But it wasn't your first attempt.
No, it wasn't my first attempt. And before I did any open water swim that was like, you know, the first attempt was a 10-hour swim, 11-hour swim. The second attempt was a 12-hour swim. But before I'd done any of that, I left with Richard Coneybear from Arnesvale, and we swam, just the two of us, back when we were relatively naive about ocean safety, and thought that our two colorful swim buoys would be enough to protect us against a boat collision, which we were lucky that time. We swam all the way to Store Bay. And what happened was Richie took 2 bottles of water with him, and I took 2 bottles of water with me in my swim buoy pocket. And he had my hand-me-down swim buoy, so he tied his bottles on with string. He didn't do good knots, apparently, because when we stopped at Mount Irving to have our first drinking break, his bottles were gone. So I gave him one of mine. And then we continued. And when we got to Buku Reef, because we hadn't planned the swim properly regarding tide.
Yeah, Buku, that's a...
Well, we got to Buku Reef, and the thing was, it was getting to be low tide. And we were novices at that time with all this planning.
But the stops are the only time you actually have conversation, because it's not like, unless you're doing backstroke, it's not like you can have a chat, you know, as you're swimming.
Exactly.
You know? So it's really just knowing that someone is there, like buddying up, like in diving.
So we get to Buku Reef and it's low tide, which means we can't swim across it.
Yeah.
So we have to swim all the way around it. So it turned what was supposed to be a 5-hour swim into a 9.5-hour swim, which ended up being done with 1 bottle of water each.
No, just now, people listening. You say 5 hours swimming, it's a 9 hour. 5 hours swimming. He said casually, but think about even just walking for 5 hours. How difficult that can be.
Yeah, that's more than a work day.
So swimming, he says swimming for 5 hours. That turn into, so you psych yourself up for the 5 hours, and then you realize it's 9.5 hours. I just put that in the context.
And to tell you what, that water that was left in the bottles was hot like tea by the time we were at Buku Reef. So that experience in itself is like an acid test in your mind. And once you know you can swim for 9.5 hours with one bottle of water, when you have a floating tiki bar with you, with coconut water, watermelon, all of the nice things.
Invincible.
You feel relatively invincible. And then that leads you to, obviously, when I was able to do a 12-hour swim, confidence grows. Then you do a 24-hour swim, confidence grows. But now the question is, have I bitten off more than I can chew? So
Icarus, don't fly too close to the
sun.
So we're going to take a break, but I definitely want to come back to still have that understanding as we talk about successes and number of failures as to what, because the swimming itself, even when you have prepared, you have all of these things, like you said, the coconut water, the support team, you have the experience, there's still the elements, and there's still that moment. I mean, I recall what breaks you sometimes is when my dad was alive and he had cancer. I was doing a fundraiser for him and decided I was going to do a marathon to do that. And I felt I'd put in the training, and up to 19, 20 miles, I was really good, as in felt that, okay, I'm strong here. So on the day, I was like, man, as you said, support, water stands, people cheering you on, all of these different things, adrenaline. I'm just going to ace this thing. And then 8 miles in on the day, hamstring pull. And I'm like, no, wait, body, hold up.
Yeah.
We had this discussion. 20 miles in, I'm expecting something here, but not 8 miles in. Yeah. And in doing that, it threw me off. Yeah. And the only thing, like with, is it Sandy?
Sandy.
Yeah.
Sandy.
Yes.
I had to visualize my dad in all he was going through was at the finish line, and we started up at Freeport, so I'm now entering Chaguanas, and I'm having to make my way to Whitehall in the Savannah. Never having done a marathon before, so you don't have the experience to know all of the different stages and what that feels like. And that visual is what drove me regardless.
Yeah.
Even with the number of supposedly successes that I would have had leading up to that moment, to get past that moment of not being able to fail.
Yeah.
Failure was not a choice. It was not an option. It was not a choice, because I would let down so many people at that particular point, including myself. Including myself. I was like, nobody. You have to all of this. And I'm thinking, like yourself in the water, that with all of these elements, that you're also telling yourself, okay, why am I feeling a particular way when you may have wanted to give up at that point, when I now have all of these things here that I didn't have when I had my hot water bottle.
Yeah, that's right.
And I still did X, Y, and Z. So we're going to take a short break. We're talking about successes and number of failures. Really, really interesting one.
Okay, I see you. Okay, let me see you, Cherry Hill. Yeah, now take it back. Let me see you rock off. Shake off. Let me see you rock off. Let me see you kick right, now kick left, now step forward, now step back. Lucozade, bring the energy.
Millions of people are attacked by harmful mouth bacteria. The root cause of bad breath, gum problems, cavities, plaque, and tartar. That's why Colgate combined the best science and technology in Colgate Total. Unlike others, its superior formula fights bacteria and creates a powerful protective barrier for up to 24 hours to prevent them from coming back. Take control of your oral health with Colgate Total.
What is BioStrath? BioStrath is a premium all-natural herbal nutritional supplement from Switzerland, available in tablet and liquid form. BioStrath is known to help improve physical and mental efficiency at work, at school, or at home, increase resistance to infections, and compensate for our less than ideal food choices. BioStrath can also help reduce fatigue and stress, strengthen and support the immune system, help to restore and maintain natural energy, increase vitality, and support recovery from illness and exercise. BioStrath is not just another multivitamin, but a general wellness elixir. Improve your overall health and well-being with BioStrath Premium Elixir for every age and every stage of life.
You can make your goals unfold, go get it. You can live your dream, join the team, let's do this. You can get the help you need to succeed with Rand Credit Union. You can believe that you can achieve big goals, small ones too. Rand Credit Union, we've got you. No more waiting, that won't do. Make someday today. One life, so make it good. Live the way you know you should. With Rand Credit Union, yes you could. Make someday today.
Live your best life today with Rand Credit Union.
Are you tired of the same old boring drive home from work? Look no further. Get ready for the ultimate after-work rush with Freedom 106.5 FM's The Overdrive with Davey. Mondays to Fridays from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Let Davey take you on a thrilling ride of non-stop entertainment and education. He covers the topics of the day, delves into the latest food and lifestyle trends, and brings dynamic guests from exciting professions to share their professional stories and experiences. Take advantage of this energizing and engaging experience. Tune into Freedom 106.5 FM, Mondays to Fridays, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. for The Overdrive with Davey, the ultimate way to end your day with a bang.
All right, we're back from the break, and this is ManHOOD. And in order to be successful, you have to fail a number of times.
A number.
Indeed.
And as you were saying before, in terms of that dive, right? Because I was thinking, you have a point where you have hope, and then something happened that you can't predict, mm-hmm. and then you could lose that hope. Mm-hmm. So if you could get into and explain to us some of the times that you may have felt hopeless.
Well, apart from just that dive, mm-hmm. I'm talking leading up to the dive, where you failed. And we're using that word in terms of you didn't accomplish. Yeah. So not fail in a negative sense. You didn't accomplish what you set out to do by the meaning of that. Mm-hmm. And yet, even within that, if you can go through what that felt like and how you got back in the water, so to speak, to start to train again, and even through that swim, there would have been things that have gone through your head, like, wow, I have all these things set up, and am I going to fail again? And then there's success.
I think it's very much what you learn about your mistakes. That is it for me. I focus on what I did wrong and how I can improve it, how I can do it correctly. And eventually, you will get to the stage you want to get to, I find, because every time you try again, you're able to fix, to a certain extent, what went wrong the time before. And so even if you fail again, you realize, well, I got closer this time, mm-hmm. and I only need to do this and that the next time. Mm-hmm. And then if you do it the next time and you've done this, but then you only need to do that, so you try again. And then it gets to the point where your partner tells you that if you try again, she's going to kick you out of the house. And then you have to accomplish it. You must triumph because there is no back door.
Now is the time.
Now is the time. So you do everything to make sure it happens.
To people, including myself, listening to, I've heard, we've had this conversation before, but to people who are hearing this story for the first time, and you're sitting there going, I'm just a failure. I'm not going to try that again. Or as you started off this conversation when you said you're not very good at anything, and pointing out that, well, you're a good scuba diver, you've accomplished the Tobago to Trinidad swim. There's so many other aspects of it, and the people are thinking to themselves, I'm just not good enough. Mm-hmm. And don't have the will or the zeal to pick themselves back up, because that's a great way of looking at it. Hence the phrase, success is a number of failures. When you look at it, that every time you fail, you're one step closer to that success. I try to use the example of WD-40, mm-hmm. the popular brand for lubrication, etc.
I'm really curious to hear where
so WD-40 is water displacement, right? And the reason why it's 40 is because on the 40th time they were successful. right? And so therefore, it's understanding that each time it's a mark that, okay, well, so in this case, if you can determine, if you had a what's it called, what's a ball called? The
crystal ball.
Crystal ball.
Right.
And you had a crystal ball, you can determine, okay, this is going to take 50 times. Each time you're like, okay, well, wow, I've tick that off, scratch that off, and I'm now one step closer to success. But we don't. So therefore, it's a matter of determination or that drive that I am going to succeed. But each time, as Johnny mentioned, you're now saying, okay, well, this is how I have to tweak. This is how I have to pivot. This is how I have to adjust. Another quick example is Walt Disney, where initially he went to banks and, they ran him out the door because it was you wanted to sell us on a swamp and a rat. And I think it took him 212 times before one bank said, okay, and then now we have Walt Disney.
There's also the story of what's his name, Colonel Sanders, the KFC. I think he only got famous when he was after 50 years old,
50
something like that, and it took him that long to get that going.
But these are the people these are the stories that you hear of people that have succeeded based on their drive to continue through the failures.
Absolutely.
But I'm asking you for what is some advice that people who are listening who may not have that drive or may not have, say, like for me, my father at the end of the line, because if he wasn't there, I would have probably given up at 8 miles. For you, what is it that in other areas of your life, that champion mindset, so to speak, that you can give, that someone can go, okay, this is one tool that I can take away?
I will tell you that the biggest failures in your life, the biggest tragedies, tend to teach you the most. And from the time I realized that was a fact, I was able to look at things in a different way, with a different lens. So instead of consuming myself with, the feeling sorry for myself whenever I had a failure, I tried to use it as a teaching point, as a learning experience. And as you say, tweak and adjust. But I think at the base of it all, you have to have a lot of belief in yourself. You have to believe that you are worth the struggle.
How would I do that?
Because
let's say I have no tragedies in my life.
Oh,
right.
Well, then you don't have any blessings, eh?
Right. Let me say, and I mean, tragedies are subjective too, right?
Yeah.
But let me say, in my life, I have no trauma that I find significant enough, right? But I have goals I want to accomplish.
Yeah.
So it's not to say I'm doing it for my dad, I'm doing it for, but I want to do it for me.
Yes.
I don't have the belief in myself. How I just get that belief?
By getting out and doing it. And that's the thing. There's no easy way. You have to get out and do it, and either fail or succeed. Now the thing is, if you fail early on and you continue to fail, then you will go on a journey, I think, of growth and development. Whereas if you are triumphant very early on, you may very well go on a different journey that leads you in a different direction. I can't really speak for many other people, but I think that something that we all have in common is we have a belief in ourselves, whether it's great or small. And the only way you can make that belief grow is by actually doing. A lot of people who I have great respect for are very intelligent, and they overthink a lot of things. They look at a potential opportunity to start a business or get a new job, and they think about all the negatives as well as the positives, and before they've even gone out and done it, they've defeated themselves. You see? So I'm lucky that I have an opportunity to go out and fail and think of myself as somebody who is not very good at anything in life and never really has been. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm terrible. I'm just saying that I know lots of people who are better than me in this and better than me in that. And by the way, if you want to see something funny, have me climb a balata tree, because Mr. Aquaman over here is afraid of heights. So everyone has a thing.
Tarzan or something.
That's right.
When have you seen a fish climb a tree, you know?
There you go. Although I wish I was Tarzan.
There's something I want to ask though. Because I've known Johnny for years, right? And it relates to life as well. Is it that as much as you prepare, right? It's all about timing as well, because you also waited for the right conditions in the water and the right time of the year to choose the swim. So is there a combination of like the right timing and preparation rather than just pushing through?
Well, I'm very glad you brought that up. And that's why I said when you have failures, you learn from them. Now, I didn't make it from Tobago to Trinidad because I became more fit and more strong, and a better swimmer, better technique. Yes, these things happened as well, but that's not why I made it. It was because of information, understanding, and intelligence. We overcame the hurdle not by swimming faster, but by working out the exact speeds of the current and by using technology, the Windy app, to see exactly what days of the year the current speeds are low enough so that you can actually make forward progress swimming against them. So it became a mathematical problem to be solved rather than an endurance feat. So the first time we went out, we chose a day. And we went on this day. And we had Hurricane Fiona's tail end. And so we ended up closer to Tobago than anything else, right?
I'm gonna tell you that.
Yeah. And then the second attempt, a year later, I got within 7 nautical miles of Toko Point. And then the current started to push me back, and that was it. We had to call the swim. And
did that time feel like the catamaran again? It's like I'm right there, and I want to keep pushing forward, but
I felt relief because the current was pushing me back. I realized there was nothing I could do. I'd given it my best, and the team was happy with me. We considered it a success. So after that, we realized just how important the current speeds were. So we went back to the drawing board, and we realized that the Galleon's Passage, which is a channel between Tobago and Trinidad, is impossible to swim across on 363 days of the year, almost every year. There are only 3 to 4, sometimes only 2 days in a calendar year when the currents and the Galleon's Passage slow down to the point where it's like a lake. And we chose one of those windows. And let me tell you something even crazier. Check this out. So the first weather window that came when we saw the green corridor, because it's color-coded for current speeds, right? You don't want red, but you want green. So we saw a green corridor all the way from Tobago to Trinidad. First weather window came. Did we have the sponsorship money? No. Second weather window came. No sponsorship money yet. Third weather window came. No sponsorship money yet. We passed the summertime. We into October now, which means that rough seas coming and currents can start to pick up. So the fourth, the last of the weather windows, the money came 3 days before that weather window. And let me tell you something. That was the best weather window of them all. And I will tell you this, based on my experience during the swim, if I had gone on any of the other 3 weather windows, I don't think I would have made it because I nearly didn't make it on this one. That was still the skin of my teeth.
Before I want to bring Kafra because he feel he getting away with his story, right? But I want to bring him back just to really quickly tell us about when Aquaman touches land in Trinidad.
I never touched dry land. I never touched dry land in Trinidad. First of all, I went off of a jetty in Tobago, which doesn't it doesn't count as a natural start. So the swim, technically speaking, didn't count from a world open water swimming perspective. Also, I never reached dry land because when I got to San Souci, it was a very dark night, and I swam up onto a rocky embankment, which is far away from Big Break, which is a beach. The boat couldn't get anywhere near Big Break because of the size of the waves. So I went for the rocky point, and I didn't realize it would get too shallow for me to continue. I had to stand up very carefully, I might add, so as not to get a puncture wound or get stuck by a stonefish or something. And the water reached my knees, and that was the end of my swim. So nobody met me on the beach. There was no fanfare,
So you walked onto the beach after
No,
that?
I never walked onto the beach because I couldn't get across the rocks in the darkness because that was injury.
Right.
I spent 24 hours swimming, then to go and get puncture wounds again.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that important to me. I knew I had made it.
Right.
But it still
So just a personal
it wasn't
victory.
ratified as an official shore-to-shore swim. You know, but of course, it was a personal victory.
How did that feel?
It felt fantastic.
Even knowing that it wouldn't be seen as for the books. I mean, as a personal victory, yes, you know you did it.
I know I swam from Tobago to Trinidad. And I know that the next time that I swim from Tobago to Trinidad, hopefully, I will be swimming from a beach.
You're going to walk off the beach and you're going to walk on to another beach.
Even if I have to choose a different landing spot than the one I've gotten to, I will crawl out onto another beach, just to make sure that I put that exclamation point.
You see, that point you're making there, I think for those viewing too, it's really important because sometimes we think we need others to validate our accomplishments, you know, right? And I'm not saying it don't have place for that. Of course, you like the accolades. Of course, you like a degree. Of course, you like something. Right?
More sponsorship the next time because the sponsors need to get their pound of flesh.
But many times, I think it's a lot of it is for us, you know.
Yes.
Because you know, I mean, you tell me you jump off a jetty, in my mind, mean care, right?
Right.
You swim from Tobago to Trinidad, even if you make
potato to me, you know.
Yes,
even if you make it on the beach, you swim and you make it. But I understand what you're saying, but I think sometimes, for especially for those listening, is that, and even for me, is that a lot of times you have to make sure you're doing it for you now. Make sure that you're satisfied. Because if you take shortcuts with your own stuff, no, you can't feel satisfied. But if you know you did and you put in the work, that it is important for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Kafra.
Yeah, man.
So you sit down there, right? For those who don't know, this you know, just by the name alone, David Rudder's son, the eldest, right?
Yeah.
And so you would have come through. You are very successful in your own right now, you know, and that's come through. That success has been as a result of a number of failures, and failures still continue to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And you still continue to push through. What was it like? Because he's very supportive of you and all that you do.
Yeah. Well, not all. Exactly.
Yeah. Not all, but in terms of he's been there for you.
Yeah, for sure.
And so let's hear your story.
Yeah, I mean, it took a while to get to some sort of a point of feeling like, you know, like I could do things on my own without having to do with my last name, you know, whether it be like girls like wanting to like go out with me because of the last name, or people that want to be friends with me because of the last name, and then I had to like filter lots of people, lots of things out of my life to get to where I am now, you know, and it's fine. I mean, I think when it comes to like success,
but you said that very flippantly, like you had to filter out lots of things to get that would have been. That would have been a process, and that
of years.
But what I'm trying to get at is, sometimes what I recognize when we get to a certain point, we sort of dismiss how we got there, and we don't really process.
Well, I was having a conversation about that with a friend of mine. Like, it's only like I ended up producing Orange Sky's 25th anniversary concert, right? Live stream. And I mean, in the moment, I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this, because like I grew up listening to these guys, right? And then only looking back at it, I was like, holy crap, I actually did that, you know? Like, and then it made you realize, like, the things that you really dreamed about doing, I already did them, and I forgot that I got there. You know, so it's only when I look at things that I've done, I was like, it reminds me, like, oh, what you're doing now is actually like, well, what the stuff you did already, you already wanted to get there anyways, you know, and I just pushed past it. And then, because you're always looking for the next thing. It's always
about the journey, not the destination.
Yeah, but then there's many destinations wherever you want to go, wherever you want to accomplish. And you're so like locked in and blinded by trying to get to that I forgot the many things that I actually achieved in life, you know.
So that's
a good thing or a bad thing?
It's, I mean, I don't even know how to answer that question.
Neither me, because I think, what you said is about the journey and the destination. I mean, I've heard that 1,000 times, right? And even you said it, like, you didn't realize how good a swimmer you were until you saw yourself now, right? And sometimes, even I remember you and I were talking, and we doing this man, and sometimes only when we watch it over, like, hey, you know, this was a real good point.
We sounded smart there, boy.
And I was like, yeah, we saw real. And I don't know if that's why I say it's a good or bad thing, because I understand the value of remembering your accomplishments, remembering the journey. But at the same time, sometimes, and you were saying...
But not just remembering, but also what the trials and tribulations, which is what I'm trying to get at. What are the things that you would have, in order to, the next time, remember I always tell you my thing, this too shall pass. And a lot of times, even though it doesn't make it better when you're going through other trials and tribulations in your life, you know that, wait, I've been here before. I've been in this moment before. What are some of the tools that I can recall were used to get me out of this? And that's what I was trying to get at with regards to Kafra, to say that as much as he dismissed it, being flippant.
Well, I think, a lot of it was definitely having to, like you said, like trying to push away from that whole kind of thing of having a famous father, right? And having to try to clear my own lane, you know? So I had to really fight a lot to get to that point.
So what does that fight look like? That's what I'm saying. Like, do you you're in your room and you say, okay, I'm gonna say 4 Hail Marys. That's what I'm getting at. Like, what are some of those things that you can recall?
Well, one thing is like definitely doing some things that my dad didn't do, but also too, for a while I was doing, I was singing for a while, and then every newspaper, everybody would compare me to him, you know, until I started people started realizing, wait, now this guy have a whole different thing, you know. And then I started acting, started working in film and television, media.
So very conscious things.
Yeah, so I did my own thing, like, you know, and I'm a little bit crazier. So people could now see that a little bit.
I could attest.
Yeah. You know, so, I think it was like a lot of trying to prove to myself and to everybody else that, like, I had something else that was different. But then through life, it always changes. Like, 1 minute it could be that. Another thing that pushed me forward is my son. You know, when I think like, oh God, I really can't do this anymore. My son, thinking of him, then it'll make me push through, or like, you know, different things. So there's not just one specific thing, you know?
When you say crazy, elaborate on that.
Okay, so like if, you know, it's like, hey, don't jump off the cliff. Hey, and I'll be the one to jump off the cliff.
Why?
Because I just want to see. I want to investigate. You know, like I just, you know, curious about.
Right, stuff, and I say that because I think that is an important factor. Yeah. Because you want to swim from Tobago to Trinidad, you crazy.
Yeah.
If you understand, if you understand where you're going.
Crazy brother,
right? So the dreams that we have for ourselves and the dreams and the goals that people have, sometimes people may think you're crazy. Sometimes you may even think you're crazy. Like, the thing you want to club, nah boy, I don't know nobody do that, but that's what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah. And I think it's the craziness, right, is what this propel us forward. Is the craziness that, because if you think about any
crazy
invention,
visionaries, right, just another name.
Any invention we have, it wasn't there before. So somebody had to say, wait now, I want to fly in the sky like a bird, right? And somebody said, well, you crazy, and then we are airplanes now. I want to be under the water like a fish, and we are submarines. I want to go across the water, and we are boats. I want so forth. So I want a computer in my hand to be able to take pictures, right? And look what we have now. So I think a degree of craziness is what's necessary, I think, to propel us forward.
And it might be very crazy, but we had to take a break. We're talking successes and not failures. You like that?
I like it.
Science calls it AMPK, your body's built-in system for burning fat, balancing blood sugar, and fueling energy. Berberine Plus naturally supports AMPK, helping you feel better, live better, be better. Available at Pennywise and leading pharmacies nationwide. Berberine Plus, powerful results naturally.
This accident last year, so it is more convenient for me now to move about with the car, so I can move about to the lanes properly. here is the only place I could shop conveniently with my budget. Everything I get it here at a convenient price. I just get specials on butters and whatever, so it will be convenient for me. Their prices is very low compared to other supermarkets. It's a really nice place to shop.
Food Basket. Food Basket, nation's #1 supermarket, bakery, restaurant, meat market, fresh producers, everything fantastic. For everyday low price, things real nice. Come in once, but to come back twice. Wholesale, retail, everything for you. A real much I wanna shop for go view. Food Basket, the nation's #1 supermarket, bakery, restaurant, meat market, fresh producers, everything fantastic. Food Basket, Marketplace Go View, where shopping is a pleasure and the price is right.
If you could see what the future holds, you'd see that while things change, you've still got it. You are strong, resilient, inspiring, and you won't be defined by time. You'll own every minute of it because you were made for more. Discover how Alive multivitamins by Nature's Way help you age vibrantly.
Whoa. Please, what do you think about the PNM in opposition?
Now, our opposition is a force. So, if the opposition opposes our next opposition, is it really our opposition? Do you think Barry will be able to give water to all? Okay, for that question, tune in to the rundown on CNC3. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. every Wednesday. Yeah. All right?
We're going.
Are we doing the people's work?
Yeah, where?
No, the people's work. It's done on CNC3 on the rundown. Oh, you thought it was here?
Yeah, but
no, it's done on CNC.
You're watching ManHOOD, and we're talking about how success is a number of failures.
Right. And we were talking, you were elaborating on some of your failures into success.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think I'm still failing all the time. Even though there will always be many successes, but then I'm always trying different things anyway, so I'll always fail at a number of things, So
is it really a fail? I mean, I know what the word means, I know we say it, but you don't believe sitting here, every time I hear that word failure,
it's kind of
doing something to
it sounds like a negative. Now, when we say success, if you look at it in the phrase, success is a number of failures. It is saying that in every success, the steps to get there may be then perceived, or what will happen is there are a number of failures because it didn't work out that first time. But on the road to success, it is part and parcel of what needs to happen. So in that way, it's a positive, but sounds like a negative. But in life, and I know, and I'm sure when you say, you've had a lot of failures, when you have a positive mindset to know that, okay, well, I've failed here and I'm going to get up again. As much as they say when you're failing, fail fast, or if you're going to fall upright, so if you can look up, you can get up. But not everyone has that mindset, because I can tell you there are many things in my life that I've failed at, that I haven't looked at it as, hey, this is par for the course. I still probably hold on to some sort of residual.
Why is that?
Because you feel like I feel like a failure. There are areas I have succeeded, and I can look back and I can say, which is why I kept asking you about your process, to know, okay, I can look back and I can say, I was here and this is what I did to get out of it. But that's in one aspect of my life. Other aspects I go, hey, you just failed, and I can't understand.
Because I think, and you could agree or disagree with me on this, I think we have this negative connotation with the word failure, because most of us, right, and it may not be our parents' fault, but most of us will kind of programmed or groomed to be perfect.
Yes.
Wherever perfect is. And not even perfect to our standards, perfect to someone else's standards.
Yes.
So therefore, if I don't meet it, if according to society, I'm not wherever and wherever at this time of my life, or I don't have this certain thing, then I am a failure. So now, sometimes you're battling yourself. So you're battling what you want versus what you think you should do. You're battling what you want, what your mother, your father, your uncle, the pastor, everybody. I know sometimes it's 10 different people at 10 different things, and they'll come up to you and say, I feel you could be a doctor, And then somebody will say, nah, you had the potential to be a prime minister. You really wanted to be Aquaman, right? If you understand what I'm saying. So then now, so you're not getting the accolades from nobody because you're not doing what they want. So they look at it, so you're wasting your life. And I'm sure people could relate to that. You're wasting your life, but but there's the thing I like doing. So you're battling with yourself.
Yeah, and just sorry to add on to that, right? Like, always like comparing yourself to others, and people like wondering like, why you're not like, you're supposed to be this and supposed to be that, right? But then when you're doing your own thing, right, and you're trying to go on your own mission, where are those same people to support you on that mission?
But also
to success.
It's not their mission for you.
True. But you want to say, apart from that, the same way we're those same people, what about when someone is you're putting down yourself, and someone, because of, like we mentioned about overthinkers, but there are also people in there, and I use the word sparingly, mediocrity, like where they may see themselves. To you, it might be you have achieved so much, because from where they're sitting, there's that saying, me, I like my sayings, when someone eating fig, someone else eating fig skin, right? And my grandmother used to say that all the time, and I don't know if it was to make you feel better, that you always be grateful for what you have, or in the case of success stories, to say, okay, well, you've achieved this, to someone that might be, wow, that, he's done everything that I wanted to do. But if you are an overachiever, you see yourself, say, at Usain Bolt level, then you're not going to be satisfied. You're going to think, I failed. You're not going to look at the number of successes or where you've come from to be able to determine, okay, well, yes, I might have ran 50 miles, right? But I didn't run 100.
Yeah.
And then to me, I failed.
I think that's toxic,
Of course it is.
It is.
Of course it is.
That's how the society.
As you bring in the society, I'd like to make a finer point of that. I think it's a lot to do with our education system. We are taught to be the first in class.
And pass tests,
and so success is sort of pushed in our faces from very early on. You're either a success or you're a failure. There are education systems which I think would work much more efficiently for a society like ours. And I think that when children are allowed to learn at their own pace and are encouraged to have fun learning, then this dilutes this sense of, am I a success, am I a failure?
Something wrong with
me. Because everyone can do something. And if you tap in to what is special and unique about everyone, then you're not going to get this sort of mentality on a massive scale like we do now.
That as I'm listening to you guys, it reminds me of where, again, as we talk about failure, I feel I've failed in many areas as a dad. Because one of the things is, as a father, your child is the only person that you really genuinely want to be better than you, with no competition. You want them to be better than you, and in that case, sometimes the drive is there because of, as you might have mentioned, the toxicity of the failures that you experience, or how you feel about yourself. You don't want that for your children, but the way you might communicate that might be toxic, and you might be failing in how you communicate. So case in point.
How many of you guys are fathers, by the way?
I have a son.
Okay. And you and I don't. Right. I'm actually, I have to say, I have enough respect for you guys as fathers, and I am petrified.
There's no, what I'll tell you, Johnny, there's no book. There's no book.
Exactly.
You're trying to figure it out. So as I'm hearing you about the system, I always think that, the education system as it is at the moment is not exploring the other areas of where you can excel. Like you said, doctors, lawyers, people push that agenda, and they're not looking at how many other people could be producers. Even what I'm pushing in the education system, they're not going to produce what I do. They're not going to produce what any of us do, well, apart from yourself, because that's academic. And I look at that and I say, when you hear that saying, be the best, be your best self, be the best you can be. Now, if I'm really thinking that with my son, be the best you can be, and I have a vision for him, and that's not where his best self will be, then am I looking at him as a failure, and am I pushing that agenda to him? And so I'm doing a disservice. And just hearing this conversation, as I told you at the start, the third, this segment is where you kind of really have a better understanding of things. It's me looking and saying, okay, well, am I failing there? What does that success look like to him? How can I be successful at even what could be perceived as failures to others?
Right. And you talked about wanting him to be better than you, the best. You should maybe think about focusing more on wanting him to be happy, wanting him to be able.
One say, how even quantifying better than you?
Exactly.
Is it more money? Is it more? How we even quantifying?
Maybe even the happiness you speak about, because all you really want is health, happiness, and happiness above all. Because if you're happy in whatever circumstance, the point is you're happy.
I know lots of sad, successful people. And really
just see, you gotta use success now.
Well, look, I said financially successful, feel like they've accomplished all of that part of their life. They've done that, but they're internal as they're so sad and depressed and just does
your dad think you're successful?
I don't know. I don't.
Because you could certainly quantify and qualify his success.
I know when my dad thinks I've done something good. It's like when he posted on social media, hey, look what my son did. So that's what I do I did something kind of cool.
But
generally,
I think that I have a fair amount in common with Kafra. I think that the analogy of being in the shadow of, let's just say, my family. There was a point in time that I said, I could never do it like my father did it. I could never be anywhere near as successful as him. And then something happened, and I realized, that I was comparing myself in a way that was futile. And that when you really flip the script, I bet my father would have loved to live the life I live.
Let me ask you something, Johnny, as you brought that up. You mentioned about your dad. Do you feel that in your life and lifestyle that there was a certain comfort, not rebellion, a certain comfort to do what you did because you knew there's part of you that still knew that your family, there was a cushion there. That if you quote unquote failed, that you would still succeed, because it wouldn't be like someone failing and falling off the face of the earth and catching their ass, so to speak. You can still have that.
Absolutely, an underlying confidence, and also a sort of a sense of freedom, in that I wasn't trying in any shape, way, or form to walk in his footsteps or to follow in the footsteps of the successful people in my family. And I think that was a real blessing, to be able to do something totally different and find happiness and success in that.
I want to add on to that, because when you talk about having that cushion and support, I think support from others has a lot to do with one's success as well, not just by yourself. You always need a team, or you always need people having your back to get you to where you're going, or else I think you wouldn't be able to make it by yourself. At least I think so.
And I want to, because I don't want to close this segment, I would like to come back and finish off finish off points to properly bookend it. And we've spoken about success and failures, and even that false sense of success, that false sense of security, that false outlook. And I want to come back to something you spoke about, where you spoke about leading up to the races or the accomplishment. It started off with you swimming and a friend of yours doing a drone shot.
Yes.
And when you looked back at that, you realize that, wow, I looked good on the surface.
Yes.
It's like, when they speak about a swan, on the top looks so graceful, but under that water, beaten up, that gets it to move. And in your case, you look the part on the surface, but then your technique was all...
I was making all of the classic mistakes that most people make in swimming. And there's no way that I would ever be able to swim from Tobago to Trinidad if I was still making those mistakes. But the learning process was a very gradual one. And the answers didn't come easily for me. I looked at a lot of YouTube videos. I took coaching, and things just... I had little epiphanies all the time. And just as I thought, I reach, then I realized, I still going, that kind of thing.
So you succeeded in correcting all those failures?
No. Listen.
No, it was a statement.
It's happening. I'm getting there. But for example, I'll give you a good one. Now, on the 24-hour plus swim, I got a mild case of salt tongue, which meant I couldn't eat solid food for 4 days after the swim. Salt really mashes up your tongue. So imagine what's going to happen after 40, 48 hours, right? There'll be pieces of my tongue falling out.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Sodium.
So what am I going to do? Well, I have to elevate my technique once again, and I have to militantly exhale through my nose, keep my mouth closed, and so that when I rotate over onto my side to sip my breath, all of the air is out of my lungs through my nose. And I sip that breath and I go again. So what I have to do now, I love opening my mouth when I swim. What I have to do now is do that entire swim without opening my mouth, or as little as possible.
Because I know that changing a technique, especially when you're accustomed to it, can be very disorienting.
Very disorienting and difficult.
And even for those watching, is that sometimes you're in a habit, you're in a routine, where you realize that's not beneficial to me anymore. But I'm doing that for all my life. I'm doing that, and now we have to change. And just even me thinking about it, when I have to change routines, sometimes I feel like if something wrong. So you just want to go back.
You want to go back.
Comfort.
You want to go back.
But the always is not beneficial to where you want to go. So it's pushing through that moment of discomfort.
Yes.
Which is easy for me to say. That's easier said than done.
But it's very difficult when you're actually doing it, because I know a lot of swimmers who are much faster than I am, and their technique is not as good as mine. But they are so good. They're making such good times that they don't want to change their technique, because if they do change their technique, they're going to go through a period where they're not swimming as fast and it's not as comfortable. And in order to push through, you have to go through that, and then finally you improve.
Sometimes you have to take a step back in order to move forward.
Absolutely.
But it is that confidence to know that. And ironically, you talk about the breathing, and my own research over the past is about breathing technique to get, as a avid hiker. I'm always looking for ways to put more blood into my more oxygen into my blood. And one of the things that I learned, of course, is that oxygen is a lazy molecule, and therefore it likes to ride on carbon dioxide. And so mouth breathing is actually very bad for you. So you're supposed to be inhaling through the nose and exhaling longer, almost humming through the nose, in order to oxygenate your blood a lot more. And a good technique to people who like to mouth breathe is to take your tongue and push it to the roof of your mouth. I think it's called mewing. And so what I'm bringing that up without going too much into it, to say that if you do take a step back, what might be seen as a small failure in the good sense, it is actually going to be beneficial for you in the long term, because what you need more than anything else is to oxygenate your blood. But we've certainly learned a lot in this particular successes and number of failures, and it would be remiss of me to not have a quick conversation before we kind of go around and gather our thoughts on what we all took from today's successes and number of failures. Is you had success in your own determination, and certainly by me, from jetty to rock, so to speak, but you went from point to point because you walked onto the jetty, right?
Well, I was told to dive off the jetty to make a splash, but I crawled in very quietly.
But a boat didn't put you on the jetty. My point is you went from land, you're still on your own 2 feet.
I went from the jetty.
On your own 2 feet onto the jetty, right?
Technically, you went from land.
And onto the rock, right, which is still the surface, which is still land in Trinidad and Tobago. It was above water, connected to Trinidad and Tobago. So it's semantics, right? Well, to Trinidad. And so with that success in mind, forget the academics, forget the annals of history. From this discussion, and you've been a success. You've determined that, look, I'm going to do something different here. I'm going to go again, and this time I'm going to swim around Tobago.
Yes. This time, I want to give the effort a little bit more teeth. I want to accomplish more. So the last time, as I said, it was more about showing people what seems impossible is possible, but really and truly the personal campaigns that I was swimming for, which is, of course, raising awareness of the devastating impacts of climate change, pollution, and overfishing on our ocean, and to encourage learn to swim programs nationwide and region-wide. Those 2 campaigns, they were all well and good, but nothing really stuck after the swim. So now, when we're swimming around Tobago, we are going to be actively raising online donations for 2 NGOs that are specific to these campaigns. The first NGO is Species, which is
under Dr. D.
Ocean Research and Conservation. And they, of course, it is a local NGO. So we're starting with fixing our own backyard. And then, of course, the Aqua Smart Foundation, which is the Learn to Swim, Aquatica Swim School. So now I'm actually hoping that because we're having donations per kilometer, that the donations that we
Tobago than the distance from Tobago to Trinidad.
It's twice as long. So instead of swimming for 24 hours, I expect to be in the water for at least 40 hours, give or take.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Trinidad and Tobago, I want you to look at me carefully. Trinidad and Tobago, successes and number of failures. Don't be that failure, and ensure that you donate to this very worthy cause. Aquaman, it's certainly it's gonna put Aquaman to the test. It's gonna put you to the test, because I know that Tobago is 6 miles across.
Yes.
Right? And I've done some of the what's it called, the C2C walks and things like that, and that in itself is taxing. I can't imagine. I mean, as much as you can look at the beauty, walking off the beach and going and taking a dip in the likes of Pigeon Point, Pala Touvier, and all these are beautiful beaches that you would certainly be coming across, Cotton Bay, and swimming from end to end, where you're not having a moment to say, let me have a coconut water, or any sort of enjoyment. You're crossing on the outskirts of these beaches. Is certainly no easy task, and I certainly hope you don't get salt tongue.
Thank you very much.
So we need to make sure you're breathing through the nose.
Absolutely.
What are we taking away from today, Kafra?
Well, I mean, I would definitely say stay motivated. Have something to hold on to. Like, maybe every time you're feeling a little bit down, like, especially like what he did was really inspiring for me as well, to kind of like, I could do anything now. I could do, I could do. So that was a real big moment for me when that happened. And so just stay motivated, stay going, stay persistent. And always good to have some support. We have to get to.
I had a swim teacher, right, when I was a younger kid, and his name was Ricky Taylor, and he used to say, "All right, boys, persistence and perseverance, the 2 P's." And if you are persistent eventually you will persevere. The thing is, though, it's not a given. You know, it's not a guarantee. And it's not like you try twice and then and you fail twice and then you're successful the third time. There's no recipe to this. But I think that if you get up when you're knocked down and you learn from your mistakes, you're going to be on the right path.
Yeah, keep moving.
Johanse, I wanted to close but answering these two things based on what Kafra just said and what Johnny just said. So Kafra just said, based on what Johnny did, he felt he could do anything. And a lot of people look at that outlook and think, oh, he could do it, I can do it. So, and as you just mentioned about success and failure, the second thing I want to look at is you're not guaranteed for that success. So what measure does one put on himself where you can determine that I didn't fail, I actually succeeded? Is it that you're looking at something? Is it a matter of where, you know, it's a matter, I don't know why the word, I'm failing to find the word right now.
I think I know where you're going.
So first off with Kafra is, can you really do everything? Because Usain Bolt did it, and I'm looking at him, doesn't mean that I can achieve it.
Well, not that specific thing I meant. But just, you know, like some I have to accomplish in life, you know.
But sometimes can you? like can you really? And then therefore is, at what point does one, in order to be in a healthy mindset, determine that where you may have started, which is why we come back to what you were asking about journey and not the destination, that it is the journey that makes you successful, not the outcome always.
Well, both